What's going on, everybody? Welcome. My name is the Big Man on Campus here for SBRpicks.com and Sportsbook Review, here with a little bit of a different take on what you normally know me for. But we all figured, might be a great time to start talking about a little bit of some different things. We're going to talk about NASCAR today. We're going to talk about some kind of the intro to NASCAR betting, how to bet on NASCAR, and take a look forward at the Daytona 500. It's coming up next Sunday at Daytona Super Speedway. It really is the start of the NASCAR season and kind of what you need to look for when betting on NASCAR. Clearly, when you bet on sports, you bet on events, you clearly want to have a decisive edge. You don't want to do it just to do it. So I kind of have come up with signing my ways on betting NASCAR. Look, I'm an East Coaster. I'm from Philly. I hated NASCAR up until a couple years ago, but I got into it. I started kind of watching it. I started finding out that there were some edges on it that, maybe in other sports you're worried about juice and things like that. There's some great ways to bet on NASCAR and kind of have some fun with your money, especially, and it allows you to grow your bankroll as opposed to, losing money on juice and things like that. So kind of a couple of things I've kind of learned in NASCAR that make it different from other sports. First of all, there's no juice in NASCAR. You don't have to lay money to win. You're basically going to get a plus price on everything. And normally you're going to get a very nice plus price back. You're going to get, 4-1, 6-1, 8-1. And it's going to be evident in some of the drivers that I present to you on some of the guys I like to win the Daytona 500. You're going to get a 6.75 to 1. You're going to get an 8 to 1. And it kind of relays into my next point. You should not be betting NASCAR if you're looking for a 50-50 proposition. You're looking for a very high level wager that is like a basketball game where you're 50-50 basically. When you're betting NASCAR, you should have your bankroll. You should be able to afford to play NASCAR. If it's Sunday afternoon and you're down, you probably shouldn't be betting NASCAR. NASCAR is a lengthy proposition. You're basically picking through an amount of 10 to 15 guys and basically going for the ones that got you here. You want to stick with drivers that have got you here. There's 40 to 43 drivers a race. You're wanting to pick the same 10 guys. You shouldn't be betting on big underdog. Normally they don't come in. I mean, it's very rare that, a guy like, David Reagan or Danica Patrick, it's very rare that they win. The same people are always going to be in there. You want to look for guys with a lot of top fives and things like that. And when you're betting NASCAR, you clearly need to look at tracks. You need to look at where they are. And it's going to kind of move us into the race here. So kind of the basic rules in NASCAR, recognize that it's not a positive EV price. A lot of time you're not going to have a high probability of winning, but with the drivers you're picking, there's 5 guys that you're really going to want to keep a lot in your arsenal when you're betting on NASCAR. So don't bet NASCAR if you're down on Sunday and you want a nice win. It's something kind of like a future where you're doing an investment, long race. You see what happens. Let's jump into the 500 here because we are short. We don't want to run this 20, 30 minutes. Quickly, NASCAR, let's jump into Daytona. You got the race next Sunday, 2.5 mile oval down in Daytona, marks the start of the NASCAR season. And kind of some things to kind of look at here. First of all, this is a restrictor plate race. There's only 2 speedways that have restrictor plate races. A restrictor plate race is set in place basically to limit high speed, high level, big wrecks. They don't, obviously with the close quarters of this racetrack, speed is going to be, it has to be lowered. And that's what a restrictor plate does. A restrictor plate is a small plate they place between the carburetor and the intake manifold that basically limits your speed and your horsepower. So basically, you're not going to see 200 miles an hour here at the super speedway. That would really set up for a lot of wrecks. You really got to, they really have to really be cognizant of that nowadays. So there's 2 speedways, Daytona, Talladega, super speedway. You're going to have a restrictor plate race. So basically you want to look for guys that are really good in restrictor plate races. And the first one we have to mention, obviously, and these are going to be some predictions that I would recommend. Denny Hamlin won last year. Denny Hamlin is a guy that a great racer, obviously a great finish last year. It was a photo finish if you missed it. He beat out Martin Truex, the 78 car, and it was just a great race. But you look at this one today, one of the picks that I would recommend, obviously it's going to be a pretty, square call, but Dale Earnhardt has to be mentioned here. I mean, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the face of NASCAR. He's kind of the guy that everyone knows. Everyone knows the 88 car. Everyone sees his Mountain Dew commercials. But you look at in this race, He's been great in restrictor plate races. He's won 10 in his career. He's really been a guy that I think coming off his concussion last year, he didn't race in the final second half of the season. He's already come out and it's really excited and ready for Daytona. And, look, you can't doubt, what he's done in Daytona. He's won there twice. He's a really good restrictor plate racer, like I said. And when you're backing restrictor plate races, you want a good restrictor plate racer. So he would be one. I just really think with the 8-1 price, I think it's a really solid play on a guy that's probably the second favorite, if not the favorite. The other guy I would look for, he's the favorite. Obviously, you don't want to overthink NASCAR. Brad Keselowski. I mean, what he's done in the last couple of years, I mean, he's off a really nice year. He had 4 wins, 16 top 5 finishes, and he's another really good restrictor plate racer. Not as good as Earnhardt. Earnhardt has 10. He has 5 restrictor plate races wins. So again, he's a guy that really thrives at a track like this. He likes super speedways. And you talk about last year, he had a great year, but he was knocked out in the final 12 of the chase. So not the finish he wanted. He won a lot of races. He didn't finish. I think that gives him some added motivation in this one. I think he comes into this race with a really good shot at 6.75-1 to get the job done. Final pick that I would recommend here, Joey Logano. Joey Logano had a tough season. He only won 3 races last year, and he's a guy that many think long-term is one of the bigger, newer, younger faces in NASCAR. This guy has really done a lot in the last 3 or 4 years. You look at before last year, he had 11 wins, only 3 last year. So this isn't a guy that's never won. He's won at Daytona. He's been around. He's always going to really test your patience. He's a guy that definitely mixes it up with a lot of drivers. So he can always be his downfall because he's going to give it his all to win a race, and that can give you a lot of DNFs and wrecks and things like that. But Logano, one of the young faces in NASCAR, I really look at him at 11-1 to maybe be a guy that can really challenge and win this one because he's already won at Daytona once. So in all, guys, take a look at a couple drivers. I'm sure throughout the season we'll be more vocal. Obviously, with summer, only you really have baseball. It's nice on a Sunday to crack a cold one and hit an 8-1 winner in NASCAR. So again, for Daytona, a couple of drivers I would recommend. You want to look for ones that are good at restrictor plate racing, i.e. Brad Keselowski, Dale Jr., and a guy like Joey Logano, who is definitely going to mix it up. My name is the Big Man on Campus. I know many of you know me from college basketball and other things, but I joined NASCAR as well. So obviously stick with me. Maybe we'll update this maybe every week, do a video on that race and kind of update it because the races change. I'm back. My name is the BMOC, the Big Man on Campus. You can find me on Twitter at Jeff Nadu, Nadu. You can also find me at BMOCwins.com. Feel free to hit me up if you have any questions on anything. I'm always here to help. Everyone have a great day. And this has been a video on NASCAR betting. Have a great day. Bye-bye.